Hello, I'm Michelle Gomez, and the cultural artifact I'm presenting is a family recipe called Sopita de Fideo. It's a type of noodle soup that translates to little worms. It's been passed down in both my Cuban and Mexican side of my family for generations. In this video, you'll be watching my grandmother and I actually cooking it together with all the ingredients presented, and I will be explaining the personal meaning of this cultural artifact and my connection to it, and I'll be explaining that about my culture as a Cuban Mexican American woman and how this soup helped me bridge my cultural identity. So for my first point, depending on your culture, the noodle shape can change. As you see on the top, there's little conchita noodles, which are shell noodles. There was also sopa de letras, which is alphabet soup noodles, and vermicelli noodles, which are thin noodles made of durum wheat, which is what my family uses. It's the traditional noodle used to cook it. So it can vary, cooking it can vary culture to culture. This is usually the ingredients and how my family cooks it. Again, I will explain later how it can also depend on your flavoring and what your family uses. But this soup is used for a number of reasons in various settings, such as a get well gesture for someone sick, a romantic gesture to your spouse. It could be used as a family recipe that a grandmother teaches to her children. And it can also be used as a religious gesture as a Catholic devotes a promising meal to God. Sopita de Video is dated back to the 1600s, where this soup is rumored to have started in Spain, and that originally they learned it from Arabs because the Spanish was under Muslim rule at this time. It was considered a delicacy for Spaniard soldiers. That's the oldest known dated soup recipe in Spain. But this soup is very common in some Hispanic cultures. And when I eat this soup, I personally feel at ease and peaceful. When I was a child, I left all my family behind in Cuba, and my parents and I came to the United States. And it was very difficult for me to adjust to a new life here. I experienced very strong culture shock at 5 years old because I was thrown into a whole new world where I didn't understand the cultural environment around me. I really struggled to make friends because I didn't understand the cultural values and the cultural beliefs here. I was often left out or made fun of for this. And the only thing that ever made me feel comforted was Sopita de Fideo. I remember feeling so sad and lonely, but I would eat this soup. It was like I was transported back home in Cuba with my family. I used to make this soup every day, sometimes twice a day, because I would close my eyes and I could visualize back on my island when my grandmother would be singing Spanish music, and my father and uncles and grandfathers would be playing dominoes on the porch, and me and my mom would be in the kitchen actually slicing up tomatoes to cook sopita de fideo. This recipe is the only thing I could bring with me when we immigrated to America, and I still close my eyes and picture myself back home on my island when I eat this. The hardest thing I've ever done was leave Cuba, and this soup truly was the only thing that I have left that reminds me of my Cuban culture. It really connected me with my Cuban culture because it's a soup that has been passed down from generations, from my ancestors in Spain to my family in Cuba and now here in America. The cutting board used in this video actually is a custom olive wood cutting board that has been in my family for 8 generations from a distant grandmother in Spain. Sopita de Fideo also helped me bridge together the cultural challenge I faced as a Cuban Mexican American woman. My mother's Mexican, so when I moved from Miami to Los Angeles at 16, I met my Mexican family members for the first time. And we came from complete different cultural backgrounds, which really made it difficult to bond. I really struggled to connect with them because we spoke different dialects of Spanish, but we also had different cultural beliefs and different cultural values, and there were different cultural rules. And the first time I ever actually truly connected with them was when they saw me make this soup as a generous gesture because my little cousin was sick, and they taught me how they made it in their culture. They learned this recipe in Mexico from their Mexican ancestors, and they taught it to me, their version of making it. And I felt that this soup really united my two very different Cuban and Mexican cultures as one. And it was interesting to learn that the Mexican recipe has a couple of added ingredients, such as spices like pepper, salt, and they add red bell peppers or chili peppers. Sometimes they even change the base from chicken to beef. When I eat this soup now, I instantly remember that moment when I felt welcomed by my Mexican cousins and how they took the effort and time to get to know me, because they realized that although we're both from different cultures, we're not so different after all. It's funny to think how Sopita de Fideo is the thing that brought us together as a family. And because of this soup, I now feel confident in my cultural identity. And I'm happy that I don't struggle with it anymore. This soup really is what made me and helped my culture and me to embrace my culture. And it's the very staple of my being, being a Cuban Mexican American woman. I hope you guys try this soup one day. It's very delicious. Thank you for your time.